NieR Automata is one of the worst games ever made, and I'm tired of pretending it's not. At least that's what I would say if I ever did pretend it wasn't. The truth is, I've hated this game, and I've been pretty vocal in my hatred of this game ever since it came out. I thought it was absolutely horrendous the first time I played it, and when I tried to replay it, I thought it was just as bad. The only real thought I have as to why people like this, other than the fact that it's pretentious and it makes you feel big brained playing it, is people say, oh, well, 2B's hot and she triggered SJWs and feminists. And that's really about it. And is that me being a straw manning people? Probably, but I don't really care. NieR Automata is something I can't really see a single redeemable quality of. I mean, every aspect of this is horrible. The combat's horrible, the story's horrible, the characters are horrible, the graphics are the art style is some of the worst art style I've ever seen. It's just bad. It's something that, like I said, I can't think of a single redeemable characteristic about this game. And that could just be me. As you guys know, I'm not the best at following plots, particularly like non-linear mystery plots like this. I had to go read the wiki to try to figure out what the hell was going on. And people might say, well, Argent, you didn't get like the 26 different endings. You needed to get to like ending 6. But that's like bullshit, and that's an excuse. A game shouldn't have like 30 different endings to get like the basic gist of what the hell is even going on. I'm sure there's some people who like that, but I don't. And I guess people could say, well, Argent, they don't play the game if this isn't your thing. Yeah, but this thing got so many awards. This isn't some like really obscure niche thing. Like a lot of people don't like the Souls games. And those are obscure and niche. They or at least they were kind of designed that way, and they just kind of became a big thing and kind of blew up. But I don't really consider them to be a mass market thing. They're really weird. The plot doesn't make any sense, that kind of thing. But the gameplay is very solid, despite the many bugs and balancing issues. The artwork is fantastic, and the music's great. I don't really think NieR has any of those kind of redeeming features. This is some of the worst combat I've ever seen in any video game. And like I said, the artwork is god awful. It actually almost kind of made me sick playing through large portions of this game. So, like, where to start off? I don't even know. Maybe just start off at the beginning. So the plot to this game doesn't really make any sense. So this is like in the future. Apparently this is a sequel to something. It's a sequel to the original NieR. I'd never heard of it. I never played it. And maybe that's my fault for not digging up the old game and figuring out what went on. I'm not really sure how relevant it was and how much it would help me understand this. But supposedly humans live on the moon or some starbase or something, and they've created androids whose purpose is to go to Earth and destroy the robots who were built by aliens. And there's this kind of unending war going on between the androids who are human loyalists and the robots who are just don't really have any motivation. They're just evil. They apparently have killed their creators at some point in the past, and their motivations are something. So, NieR Automata takes place, I guess, towards the end of the war, in which the androids had developed a new special forces command, I think it is, called Yorha, which is both the name of the special forces and also the name of a particular line of androids, which are much more powerful and I think are more general purpose in terms of what they're able to do. Mm-hmm. And the idea was that they would eventually be able to break the gridlock and allow the androids to finally win the war and defeat the robots. And to be fair, this isn't the absolute worst premise I've ever heard. Post-apocalyptic is not bad. Androids is not bad. There's some potential here. But I couldn't follow this game after, like, the opening level. There's, like, some kind of weird android resistance on the planet. There's some robots that aren't evil. There are these random side androids that just show up. I don't even remember what their names are. There's like the two male ones. There's like some random, I don't know if her name's like 2A or 1A or something. I don't know, just all these like random figures show up. There's no obvious backstory to any of them. Maybe it's like, I don't even remember. Maybe this game has some sort of like data bank feature and you're supposed to go through and read it. If that's the case, I don't really care. I kind of feel that any game in which there's like documents lying around or video files or something, that should be supplemental. It shouldn't be required to follow the basic plot of the game. So I don't really know what to say. I couldn't follow any of this. You just kind of go from place to place. There's not really any explanation. You're just running fetch quests for people. And that's about all I can say. You randomly fight animals on the Earth's surface. Um, you fight robots and things kind of happen. 2B doesn't really have any influence. Things just kind of happen around her. And you go around, and I just replayed this game like a month or two ago, and I still have no idea what the basics of the like plot and story were until I read the wiki, and I can't really recall any of that stuff happening in the context of the game. The only part I kind of like about this game is I kind of like the relationship between 9S and 2B. At least during the game, it eventually winds up making no sense later on. But I kind of like some of the back and forth between them. I kind of like how 9S is obviously in love with 2B, but she just kind of like shoves him off and just kind of friend zones him constantly. That's kind of funny, but it does kind of irritate me that the only male android is kind of a wuss. Like that they didn't make like some kind of Chad like Aryan android who could like kick ass and was like a bruiser or was like a commando or something. Because this is just like it's supposed to have sexploitation, but it even fails at that. So those are really the only characters. I guess there's Pascal, which is like some robot woman, and then there's the head of Yorha, who's in the game for like 5 seconds, and then there's like A1 or whatever her name is, and she's in the game for like 5 seconds. And it's just the whole thing seems like there's all this shit in the background that we're not told, that's not explained. And people say, well, Argent, it's show don't tell. Well, you show and tell. Like, there's no stakes. I don't even really know what I'm supposed to be doing or where I'm supposed to be going. It's just, it's horrible storytelling. And apparently, to understand any of these things, you have to beat the game like 6 or 7 times. There's like fake out endings, and there's all this other stuff. And I just don't like it. And it's not mainstream, and it shouldn't be treated as a mainstream game. If this is going to be released at all, I don't know. It's just people shouldn't be saying, Argent, you got to play this game if it's this like obscure, nonsensical JRPG. And that brings us to like the combat. This has some of the worst, most boring, repetitive combat I've ever seen. It's just literally dodge, mash buttons, dodge, mash buttons. You have the pod, and the pod really doesn't make any sense because you have to hold down a button to fire, but it's hard to hold down the button while you're doing the other stuff. And it doesn't make sense that the pod wouldn't just auto fire. And I actually went in like part of the way through, and there's like an assisted mode, and that was the only thing I turned on was the auto pod firing, because it doesn't really make sense that you have this like autonomous robot that's following you around, and it can't just shoot by itself. You need to like manually do that while using the other buttons. And to me, that's not interesting. That's not fun. That's just like unnecessary complication. But yeah, basically all the combat in this game is just the most mindless, boring beat 'em up. Press a button, dodge, press another button, attack, press another button, shoot. I haven't really been able to see any strategy. The RPG system in this game is bullshit. Like, the chips are just really complicated. They don't seem to do a ton. It's just really obnoxious. You never seem to have the resources to do anything. None of it is like really interesting. All of it is very, I think, unintuitive. Really just kind of, like I said, uninteresting. The interface is terribly designed. The environments are just really dull and boring. So yeah, what do we have so far? The story is incomprehensible. The characters, with the exception of the two main characters, are bland. There's like all this other shit. Once again, they introduced like there's a logic virus and there's humanity's like hidden out somewhere and there's like aliens and there's all these things like we're supposed to know about. And I kind of feel like it talks down to you. It's like, you're stupid. You don't understand how brilliant this is. You don't understand all this background stuff that we won't explain to you. You got to play this like 5 or 6 times to understand. And I'm going to address this because lots of people are probably going to bring this up. They'll be like, well, Argent, you like Evangelion, and you've done all this like background and watched the series like 5 times and done all this research into the esoteric stuff in it. Yeah, but I don't pretend Evangelion is like mainstream in the way something like DBZ or Naruto is. And I don't like say people are stupid for not liking it. It is very esoteric, it is very niche, it's not for everyone. If people hate it, I generally don't argue with them unless they use really dumb arguments like, oh, Shinji's a pussy. But like, if people don't like it, that doesn't really bother me. I get that it's pretentious and esoteric and stuff. But I feel like NieR is more kind of considered to be a mainstream product, and I'm kind of criticizing it in that fashion. And I think even if you don't like Eva as like a philosophical or psychological thing, I think there's a lot to enjoy in just in terms of the angel fights and the creative way they have to try to take them down. And just some of the the music obviously and the cinematography in it is really, if you could say cinematography for something animated, I think is really good and it's very creative. And this is just everything is like brown and green and gray. And it's just kind of a nothing burger. I think the music was okay. I can't really remember it, which is a bad sign. If I can't even recall the music being good in something. Like, I normally don't pay that much attention to a music, but a lot of games that I really like the Zelda games, Baden Kato's, the Tales games, obviously Command and Conquer, all these game series I like have really good music that really contributes to it. Especially like Tiberian Sun, the original CNC, and like Red Alert 3. That really helps the game, and that is memorable, and I like it. Also, Mass Effect with kind of its, I don't know if it's EDM or house or whatever you want to call it, but I really like the kind of futuristic soundtrack they got for it. But here, I can't really remember anything about it. It's just, I don't know how a game can make so little impression and provide me with so little entertainment and so little joy. Once again, I don't. It's a bit like ReZero. Although with ReZero, I can kind of understand why some people might like it, because at least it has like some waifus in it. I guess this has 2B, but she's kind of like boring and bland, and it just sucks. I mean, I'm sure people are going to say like, Argent, these are all really shallow criticisms, but if none of the basics of it are tolerable, then like I don't even really care. And maybe just quickly, so people say, well, the theme is it's supposed to be existentialist nihilism, and the robots and the androids are fighting this forever war because they need some sort of purpose, even though their original purpose died out with humanity a long time ago, because this game is some sort of complex mystery plot. And it's like, I guess. And if I had to fix the plot, I might make it about like the androids figuring out that humanity's gone and they have to exist for their own purpose. And they more and more start adopting aspects of humanity, like maybe art, maybe romantic attachments between the male and female androids, recreation. They just kind of start adopting human characteristics and kind of view that the way they can serve humanity is to kind of bring it back in the limited way they're able. But it doesn't really go in that direction. Maybe it does in like Ending 5, but once again, I don't really care about Ending 5. it's if you're going to have multiple endings, I feel like it should be there as kind of a bonus. Like in Halo, where you get like the humorous scene of, I think it was Sergeant Johnson and the Elite hugging each other. But I don't think it should be something like critical to the basic plot. So overall, review in a nutshell, NieR Automata is garbage, horrible game, one of the worst ones I've played, and I'm tired of people pretending it's not terrible.